like, you want me to make a more serious wrestling video? I'll make a more serious wrestling video. I want to talk about a major assumption that seems to be going on around here that's been annoying the heck out of me. The assumption is that the wrestling fan base, the fans out there, will just openly embrace the young stars of TNA, the X Division, in the absence of the veterans. Basically, they're assuming that these young TNA stars are somehow destined for greatness. And from that, form the opinion that all that needs to happen is for these older guys like Steiner and Booker T to just step aside, and the world will just automatically love and embrace these new young TNA stars in the X Division, and the product quality will skyrocket, and TNA will become golden. Which is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, but that's what happens when you base an opinion off a major assumption like that. You end up depending on that assumption to beat the odds to try to be true. Alright? Don't these idiots ever think about what would happen if the assumption proved faulty? What would happen if TNA got rid of all these big name stars and the world didn't love AJ Styles, and the world didn't love Alex Shelley, and the company tanked? Alright? What then? I think the problem is that these nerds are using this like little geeky YouTube community as a reference for what the entire wrestling fan base wants. We like the X Division, therefore wrestling likes the X Division. Right? Wrong. Okay? Don't these idiots ever stop to realize how unappealing the X Division is to a lot of people? How silly it looks, not just to casual fans, but to a lot of wrestling fans across the board. TNA recently got some of its highest viewerships of all time, and there's a reason why the X Division has been relegated to web matches. I mean, I like Saban and Shelley, I like the X Division, but is that a reference for what the wrestling fan base as a whole wants? No. Likewise, is a bunch of YouTubers on here actually wanting TNA to get rid of some of its biggest names a reference to what the fan base as a whole wants? I doubt it. Another assumption is that these new young guys are even ready to lead. I mean, people like to assume that because he's a TNA original and because he has a lot of talent in the ring, that AJ Styles should be the next big thing. He should be the next face of the company, the next big leader. But the thing about that is that seniority and in-ring talent don't necessarily constitute leadership. I mean, I like AJ Styles. He has a lot of in-ring talent and he seems like a cool guy. But the fact of the matter is that when I try to objectively look at him on the screen, there's nothing about his demeanor, his behavior, or his body language that strikes me as being a leader. He's too reserved. He doesn't come out at the screen at you, you know? I mean, take off your assumption glasses for a second and just look at him, you know? Does he strike you as being the next Rock, the next Austin, the next Shawn Michaels, the next Hogan, whatever? Now, I know the idiots are going to spin this, so let's make this perfectly clear, okay? I am not against pushing the young stars. I'm for pushing the young stars. All I'm doing is I'm responding to what appears to be assumptions going around here that has resulted in a mentality based on substitution, all right? Take Angle out, put AJ in. Take Steiner out, put Saban in, right? All I'm saying is that I reject that assumption and I reject that mentality and instead prefer to go with a concept of integration. Alright? Let's see what these young guys can do, alright? The main event scene, they're super important. They're our bread and butter, alright? They're our big names, but let's see what these young guys can do. Alright? Kind of like Survivor Series 92. The main event scene was still Savage and Flair, but in the mid-card, you had Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. It almost, in hindsight, seemed like a trial run, you know? Let's put these guys out there, let's see how the crowd reacts, let's see how it goes, alright? It wasn't about substitution. It wasn't about fire Flair, fire Savage, they're old, and put these young guys in because the nerd said so, alright? That's ridiculous, alright? Integration, not substitution.